My name is Russ Kinzler. I'm the Missouri River System Fisheries Supervisor based out of Riverdale. I manage the Missouri River System in North Dakota and most importantly Lake Sakakawea. Last winter was actually really tough. We got quite a bit of snow on the ice and that made getting around difficult, especially late ice. And then they balanced the reservoirs, the upper three reservoirs on the Missouri River System. The Corps of Engineers balanced them out last year, so they took a lot of water out of Lake Sakakawea, which dropped the ice quite a bit last winter, and that made a pretty good shelf getting on and off the ice as well. So that compounded with all the snow late, it made it very difficult. Yeah. We don't have any concerns with winter kill on Lake Sakakawea. We've constantly water running through it, so that's not a concern. Fishing was really good last summer. There's no reason it shouldn't be good. Our population abundance is really good in Lake Sakakawea right now. Our size structure is good. The one thing we have going is we have a lot of young walleyes coming up. This last year we documented the second largest young of the year walleye catch that we've seen on the reservoir. So there's a lot of smaller walleyes coming up too, and I think anglers are going to start running into more of those, and there's going to be the perception that the big ones all got fished out, and that's not necessarily the case. It's just that there's so many small ones out there, you got to get through those to get to the bigger fish. Now, our northern pike are just opposite of what our walleyes are right now. Our pike population is down, it has dropped below the long-term average. Our pike are kind of a boom and bust species. When we go in through a drought and we get that vegetation growing up on the shoreline, when the water comes back and floods that, we see really good year classes of pike that are produced. And those year classes will sustain the pike fishery for a decade or more. And we are now to where it's been over a decade since we've had one of those, a drought where we've had that flooded vegetation. We do see natural reproduction of pike every year. It's just not to the level as the big year classes that are produced when you flood a lot of vegetation. So right now our pike numbers are down. It's not to say there aren't pike out there, there's big pike out there, so there's still pike to be had. It's just not like it was 5-6 years ago. I mean, there are other species that can be caught. Catfish can be a lot of fun through the ice, and you get on those and you can catch a lot in a hurry. So there are other species that can be caught, but walleye and pike are the main two that people seek. Dark-haul spearfishing is popular in Lake Sakakawea, especially the lower half of the lake. The upper portion of the lake, it's sometimes visibility issues. So the lower part of the lake, it's more popular. If you find the right spot, you can do really well on pike. As you said, last year we allowed the spearing of walleyes, and I did hear some success on that, especially really late ice. But there again, it was tough getting around. So those people that were able to get out and do it had some success, and it'll be interesting to see if we see that year to year. Last year being the first year, is that what normal is going to be, or was that low? We're going to see better spearfishing? We don't know. We'll just keep monitoring it into the future and see how it goes. Lake Sakakawea normally freezes the end of December, beginning of January. With the current weather we're having right now, as warm as it is, there's very little ice in Lake Sakakawea. Some of the back bays are froze up. The very upper end of the reservoir has a little ice on it. If we get a decent freeze up, and weather plays a big part of that, where if it's calm when it freezes and you get that nice smooth ice, access is usually pretty good in a lot of areas. If it's windy and you get a lot of that jagged ice that forms, it can make it really difficult. So weather's going to play an important part as to when and how it freezes up, and then it'll just be a question of how much snow we get after that and how soon we get snow. If we get a lot of snow on thin ice, it makes it pretty treacherous too to get out there. There are designated areas to get on the lake, all the boat ramps, and then the Corps of Engineers, we have worked with them to develop a shoreline access policy, and that's both winter and summer. So the winter access points are on the Garrison Project's website right now, and there are approximately 100 or maybe a few more access sites where you can access the ice, and even some areas are designated to drive down the shore a little ways to gain better access. So if you go on the Garrison Project website, you can find that information. While people are ice fishing on Lake Sakakawea, there are other fishing opportunities in our district. When the weather's nice and the boat ramp is open in the tail race, There's boat fishing that occurs in the tail race below Garrison Dam, and it can be pretty good some years. If this summer was any indication, fishing should be really good this winter. Now catching, that's anybody's guess.